Anyways, if you wouldn't mind heading over there and giving it a wish list.
Please do drop a wish list.
Make sure you smash that wishlist button and add it to your wishlist.
To go and wishlist it.
Go wishlist sign key.
Please consider wishlisting Walter Walnut.
Please consider giving it a wish list.
Please wishlist Throne for.
Even if you're not gonna buy it, just wishlist it. Just wishlist it.
So what's the deal with wishlists, and why are devs so obsessed with them? Later in this video, I'll share exactly how many wishlists my game Feral North has earned, but to understand why they're important, we need to look at this number. Let me explain. When Steam launched in 2003, it was for first-party and select third-party games. If you wanted to get your game on Steam, basically, you had to know someone who worked for Valve. In 2012, Greenlight democratized the process by turning the decision over to the community, allowing everyone to vote on the games brought onto the platform. As Greenlight got going, we started seeing a large increase in the number of games released on Steam. Eventually, Greenlight was shuttered in favor of the current system, Steam Direct, which allows anyone with $100 to secure their place on the store. This is a much better system for many reasons, but it did cause some problems. We're now seeing more games released on Steam than ever before, and in 2022 alone, there were 12,984 games released. That's nearly 1,100 games per month, or 50 per day. That is a lot of games, and it presents a big problem. How many of those games do you think you've seen, or even heard of before? You might be thinking the number of users has grown as well, and you're right. Steam's user base has grown massively over the years, but the trouble is, these users aren't spreading themselves out to find the most unique games, they tend to focus on the most popular. According to Video Game Insights, in the first half of 2022, there were over 6,000 games released on Steam, and 80% of those had earned less than $5,000 by June, with only 70 earning over $1 million. Now, $1 million does sound incredible, but remember, Steam isn't a platform for indies, it's a platform for all games. Those 70 include the likes of Elden Ring and God of War, clearly titles that command the majority of the attention, which doesn't leave a whole lot for the smaller studios that release the other 5,900 games. Now, to be fair, of those 6,000, 75% were under $10, so it is difficult to gauge the expectations of the teams who made them. But the fact is, there are a lot of games competing for attention on the platform, and at the end of the day, Steam is a business. They don't make their money from the $100 fee to list your game, but from the 30% cut that they take from the game's sales. So when it comes to the premium space on the front page, where you can actually get some serious attention from Steam's massive audience, why would Steam show an unknown indie title when a hit AAA title would be just as happy to occupy that space? Well, wishlists. Sort of. I've asked the literal author of How to Market a Game, Chris Zukowski, to explain.
My name is Chris Zukowski. I write a blog for howtomarketagame.com, and I also consult for indie studios, big publishers, and basically I just help people figure out the intricacies of Steam and how to sell a game so that you can, support yourself and your art.
So what is the deal with wishlists? Why are devs like us always asking people to wishlist our games?
Here's the deal. Indies, we're poor. We don't have any money, we don't have a big audience, and we don't have the ability to run like huge promotional ads. Like AAA games are always advertising, they're everywhere. They can just dump millions of dollars to promote their game. We indies can't do that. So we have to be sneaky and tricky. And the way we do that is through using the system that Steam sets up. And what we're trying to do with Wishlist is we're trying to store potential energy in all this little bits of promotion, just keep rolling this snowball bigger and bigger so that when our game releases, it's like we're just dropping a giant snowball full of just fans on our game. Now, the problem is there's no other way that we can reach all these fans in an instant and get attention. But wishlists are the best way of doing it, because when our game goes on sale for the first time, or if we discount it for 20%, every fan who wishlists our game will get that email, and guess what? Those emails convert very well. A lot of people see that email and they go, okay, I like this game, I'm going to buy it. So that's why we're doing wishlists. It's so that we can work over time to collect a following and then remind people to buy our game. That's it.
How many do you think we need to build that big wishlist snowball?
The Steam algorithm actually just kind of looks to see how your game is selling, and if it sells well enough, then Steam gives it a lot more promotion above and beyond what you've brought to the table. I say the bare minimum is 7,000 wishlists. And the reason that is again, that algorithm is tuned to pick up on a certain amount of influx of sales. I think Steam kind of has done some math and said, you know what, if a game can get about 7,000, the conversion rate and the price of the game kind of stack so that it gives that much money to Steam. And Steam's like, this game is hot. It made X number of dollars. Let's promote it further. Now, it depends on a bunch of things, but generally, I'd say minimum 7,000 is kind of key enough, if you have a pretty good conversion rate, to provide enough money to get that algorithm to listen to you as a game. And so Steam's like, there's something here, let's promote it.
So it's really all about that big dramatic launch. Prior to release, wishlists are really an indie developer's best chance of getting Steam to pay attention to their game and promote it as an upcoming title, snowballing into more wishlists, to borrow Chris's analogy. Once the game releases, the wishlist emails help jumpstart the game's sales, further encouraging Steam to promote the game to a wider audience after launch, and if you're lucky, convince Steam your game is worthy to take up precious space on the front page features. It's not a perfect system. All the wishlists in the world won't guarantee a successful release, but for devs with ambition of making a living developing games, wishlists are still one of the best opportunities to increase chances of success that we have prior to releasing the game. And it's not just Steam. When you chat with publishers or even console companies, believe it or not, but Steam wishlists are a key number a lot of them are looking for to gauge interest. So what if we don't bother with all this, and we just release the game and hope for the best? Well, Chris actually did a study of games released in 2019 and looked at their lifetime earnings, and found that the median game earned just $1,136 lifetime. That's not a lot to live on, never mind fund another game. And further to that, Chris found games that earned just $10,000 gross lifetime revenue are in the 68th percentile. If you're not aware, gross revenue is before Steam takes their 30% cut, and the taxman takes a hearty portion of what's left. After working on a game for a few years, splitting up between a handful of people or a publisher, dealing with expenses like legal fees, licenses, contractors, that number starts shrinking pretty quickly in terms of actual money to live on and fund your next title. So wishlists are key. That minimum goal of 7,000 is daunting though. So where do we get them? Does Steam find them for us?
A little bit. There are things they do called the discovery queue. That is Steam pushing your game up and saying, look at this game, we think this game's got something to it. But they don't just give away that discovery queue traffic for free. You have to prove that your game is not shovelware or, some low effort, lazy ass game, okay? And the way you do that is you bring external traffic. So typically the way that indies get that algorithm working for us is we'll bring in traffic from streamers or festivals or like a Reddit post or sometimes social media. All those external sources of traffic come in, and then if enough people wishlist, again, the Steam algorithm kind of goes, I think there's something here. And they will start showing you on their site. They'll start promoting you. And that's why sometimes you see a lot of the same games over and over. That game's hot, according to the Steam algorithm. So they're starting to push it everywhere. So it's a little bit of a combination of us bringing outside traffic and then Steam saying, ooh, we got something here. And that is why wishlists are important.
So we need to convince Steam that we're making a quality game, and this is why devs are pushing so hard to get folks to support their game with a wishlist. But with so much focus on wishlists, some devs, including myself to an extent, feel it's led to a decrease in their value as gamers' wishlists are just getting longer and longer. So what do you think about that?
I don't know how to quantify this exactly. I don't know. I can't tell if this is just indies being indies, worrying about everything, being Chicken Littles out there, worried about the sky is always falling on them or something. I don't know. I can't tell you. I mean, it stayed pretty consistent where it's like about 7,000 wish lists. I used to say 10,000 and now I say 7,000. And that 7,000 is because it gets you on the popular upcoming. So to be honest, I don't think the sky's falling. Still get those wish lists, still go for them.
My game Feral North has been on Steam for a little more than 2 years now, and in the interest of transparency, I promised I'd share the wishlist numbers. So let's take a look. The Steam page went up October 1st, 2020. And in that time, Feral North has earned 35,698 wishlists, minus 2,782 deletes, leaving 32,916 outstanding wishlists. And I'm honestly thrilled with that. It's well above where I honestly thought I'd ever see Feral North. But to put this in context, that still only makes Feral North the 641st most wishlisted upcoming game on Steam. The competition is very heavy. Call me a pessimist, but I have to admit that I do get a little bummed out seeing that delete count. Is it something to worry about?
No. Don't worry about this. This is another indie sky is falling. I've got to worry about something. Don't worry about deletes. Everybody gets deletes.
So what would you say is a normal delete rate?
I did a survey. The number of deletes somewhere is in the 9% to 12%, somewhere in there. About 9 to 12% of your wish lists that you earned are going to get deleted by people who are like, I don't care about this game. Boom. And then they delete your wish list. The ironic thing is I found that as your game becomes more popular, as it gets more visibility, it's one of those exciting games, your wish list delete rate is higher. And the reason is usually those games that are getting shown everywhere are getting just more people to see the game. And so there's a wider spectrum of people being interested in the game just because Steam and streamers, the whole world is talking about this game. So they're going to have a higher delete rate just because there are more people seeing the game and there's more time for them to possibly delete it. Don't be afraid of deletes. This is something called loss aversion, where people are more afraid of losing something than they are the risk of capturing something that could earn them a lot of money. So I think indies have this loss aversion where they're so worried about deletes. So set the delete fear aside. You're probably going to get 9 to 12. There's nothing wrong that you did. Don't look at that number. Just accept it. You're going to get deletes.
With the negatives out of the way, let's have a look on the bright side and focus on the additions. Steam doesn't do a great job with tracking the source of wishlists, but I can at least say anecdotally that for me, the top 3 sources of wishlists have been big events like NextFest and Gamescom, TikTok, and YouTube. This is a look at the full wishlist history since Feral North went up on Steam. Events are always a mixed bag, but when they hit big and they get that front page Steam featuring, they're among the best source of wishlists. A publisher can be a big help here, getting you access to closed events or some of the more expensive ones, but there are tons of free events open to all indies. You just need to know where to find them. Chris's Discord actually has a notification system for event registration deadlines, so I'd definitely recommend checking that out if you're interested. TikTok certainly has its quirks, but if you can find an angle to make your game work with the algorithm, then it's a great source of feedback and wishlists. I posted a whole thread about TikTok with numbers on Twitter a while back, so go check that out if you're interested. YouTube is definitely my favorite platform to produce content for, and I'm not just saying that. It's been the best source of feedback, and the community is fantastic. It's been a great way to boost the average daily wishlist rate, but I've never seen a big spike in wishlists come from it. I know at least 2 YouTubers have managed to get their games in the top 100 wishlisted games, so it's certainly possible, but I can only speak to my experience. Articles and sites like IGN and Rock Paper Shotgun have had a marginal effect. However, Feral North has only ever been in roundup articles on these big sites, with a handful of other games. There's never been an exclusively Feral North article. Twitter works okay, but it's much better for chatting with other devs and just enjoying what everyone's working on. Some of the earlier spikes came from Imgur and Reddit. However, I don't use these platforms anymore as I don't find them terribly enjoyable to use, and they can be a little bit negative towards indie game developers. Your mileage may vary. These big spikes are very exciting as a dev, and that's exactly why you'll find a lot of us obsessively refreshing the Steam backend the morning after a big event or a viral post. But Chris has actually found some interesting data to support the average daily wishlists during the troughs as being a strong indicator of success.
It kind of turns out if you look at your daily wishlist rate, I've done enough of this, I've found that if games are kind of earning at the 50 a day all the way up to 300 a day, and yes, those exciting games can get 300 wishlists a day without even doing anything. They're just existing, and 300 people a day say, I want that game. That's what I call excitement. That game is exciting. It's interesting to people. I see a lot of games that are on the other side where, it could be 0 wishlists in a day, 5 wishlists in a day. That shows a little bit softer interest in the game. Okay, the game's not as interesting. And I think that is a better indicator of whether your game is going to convert and a lot of people are going to buy it, or if people are going to be like, I'll wait for the sale.
Ultimately, until the game releases, there just aren't that many data points Steam can use to see if a game is going to be a worthy title when it launches. So wishlists are really the key metric to let Steam know this upcoming game is worth showing in the lead up to launch day. Are there any other metrics we can look at though to see if we're on the right track?
Pre-release, wishlists are still very important. A lot of indies get wrapped up on click-through rate. And they say, oh, my click-through rate. Because Steam, when you go in the metrics page, there's this giant, big old text thing right in the center that says click-through rate. So it makes indies think they have to pay attention to it. But in my surveys that I've done, I found that actually the more popular your game is, the more Steam is showing it, your click-through rate actually goes down because you're being exposed to so many people. It's good that Steam's exposing your game to so many people. So your wishlist rate's going to go down. It happens to all the big games. So it makes it seem like that should be a bad thing, but it's not. That just shows that, you're getting shown everywhere. I have looked at the survey data and I looked at visits. This is the number of times people come to your page and you see visits. So I would look at that. It correlates better with how well your game's doing. The games that are doing really well that I say have this emotional, resonant, things, people love the game, they're excited about it. I find the games that do that get about 10,000 visits every single week without even doing anything. They're not getting streamed or anything. That's just the combination of streamers covering their game, the traffic that just comes from Steam itself, this kind of ambient traffic. I don't even know where it comes from, but I found that the top tier games earn about 10,000 visits per 7-day period and above. Some get even 3 times that amount, even more. It's amazing. So potentially look at that. But really what you want to do is just see how many people are coming to your page. The other thing you should look at is see if you've been covered in the discovery queue. Like I mentioned before, that's a kind of a tool that Steam uses to kind of expose your game. A lot of gamers, not everybody, a lot of people say, oh, I don't use Discovery Queue. Well, a lot of big time gamers really do use Discovery Queue. And so that's how Valve responds if they see your game's hot. They put you on the Discovery Queue because they know this game's pretty good.
It's been a lot of fun chatting about more behind the scenes game dev stuff. Even though this kind of thing takes about a third of my game dev time, we never really talk about these things in the usual devlogs. I made this channel to share the journey of making my first commercial game, so it doesn't feel right to leave all that out. And speaking of devlogs, for the last several months I've been saying that I wanted to finish the first draft of the Feral North mainline by the end of the year. It was a bit of a mad dash to try to make it happen, working from 5 AM most days, but I just didn't quite get there. I am super close though, and I should hit that milestone very, very soon. From there I hope to get back to posting devlogs more regularly as I work to polish the game. There's a ton of work left to do, finishing the first draft is really just the start, but it is starting to shape up. Huge thank you to Chris for taking the time to answer all my questions. I cannot recommend highly enough that you go check out his blog howtomarketagame.com. It has a ton of data to back up his findings and is really a treasure trove of valuable insights. I hope that this video shed some light into why devs all seem to be talking about wishlists. So go wishlist your favorite game developers' games as it does help them out a ton. If you'd like to see more content on this side of the indie dev journey, just let me know below. Oh, and maybe consider wishlisting Feral North on Steam.